Now, when we speak about school violence, usually the violence is meted out against students by other students. But there have been recent reports where parents are becoming physically involved in these incidents. This morning, we're talking to the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association, or TTUTA, Mr. Martin Lum Kin, about this growing trend. Mr. Lum Kin, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. De Souza.
How are you this morning?
I am fine, thank you, under these circumstances.
No.
It's a pleasure to be here in these hallowed walls, history.
History, really?
Yes.
How so?
In terms of TTT. I grew up
watching TTT and all the other presenters.
So it's always a pleasure to be.
It's a pleasure as well for you to join us in studio. I know we normally have you on Zoom,
Yes,
so it's nice for you to come back in these hallowed walls.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I want us to start with the argument that we hear all the time in terms of school violence is not a new trend, it's not a new phenomenon. It's just that with the rise of technology and the rise of social media, we are seeing this happening more and more. But I'm not sure if it's just me, but I don't remember seeing incidents where parents are becoming involved in the situation in terms of a parent actually either attacking or trying to, protect her children and that sort of thing. Have we seen cases like that before in the past?
We have one or two isolated cases, and it was not highlighted because in those instances, we didn't have persons filming. And as you rightly said, the rise in technology and social media would have made the situation more glaring. And so we've had instances within the recent past. I can cite Barataria North Secondary, where a parent entered the compound itself, so it's not outside. It was inside the compound, was able to breach security and confront some of the students as well as teachers. And so it's worrying on the part of TTUTA that this is happening. We always encourage our parents to have some level of intervention, but it's the type of intervention we are seeing now. And these instances, persons are highly charged emotionally. And so you cannot act in a reasonable manner because yes, you're trying to protect your child. However, we encourage that you come to the school and you have your intervention based on that, have the dialogue. If that fails, there are other avenues which you can take. Go to the Ministry of Education, the school supervisor. If you feel your child was assaulted, there's the law that you can go to as well too.
Well, Mr. Lum Kin, let me just jump in here. I mean, we can say that is the ideal situation, right? There is a step, there's a process. But while the process is going on, for example, you have a mother whose son or whose daughter is being bullied in school. You have instances where they are reporting the incident to the teachers, the principal, whoever, and they're not getting any sort of redress. And so what do you do in that situation when you become frustrated? And please understand that this is not me saying that a parent should go in school, but I'm understanding the frustration of a parent having to hear that their child is bullied every day. And so how should a parent deal with something like that if they went through all the other avenues and they failed?
As I said, sorry, if it is that you would have approached the school and you feel that the level of intervention is not what you think it is, and sometimes follow-up is important because sometimes we feel nothing is being done, but the process as well sometimes doesn't allow for instant action. But I can assure you, in most cases, our administrators, our educators are doing the best that they can and under the circumstances and with the resources. And so if parents feel that it is not being addressed, there are other levels to which they can take it within the education system. So as I said, there's supervision that they can go to as well, school supervision.
At what point does the police get involved?
At the point where the school feels that that intervention is necessary. So the school will do whatever it can. Now, if it is a case of assault and battery, then the parents can take it up upon themselves to make the report. If the school feels that the violence was such a level that the police needs to intervene, then it will happen. However, educators are trying their best. And it is quite, I said it before, unfortunate that society is looking towards the school as the means to finding the solution. Student and violence and discipline is a bigger picture we have to look at. There are many factors. We are not really, to me, getting to the root of this.
How can we?
There are many ways that we can do it as well. The first thing that we point out is that the home is the primary institution of education, socialization. And the home needs to play a part. The family needs to play a part. The old adage, it takes a village to raise a child, right? That African adage applies to Trinidad and Tobago throughout the world. So the village needs to take part in this. You can recall years ago that a child doing any misbehavior on the road would get a sound manners in from the persons from the society and community without any fear of reprisal against the person who is correcting the child. Now it's quite the opposite. I will bring my mommy and my daddy for you, right? And now you have to be so careful because even the smallest threat can be a reality now.
Now, Mr. Lum Kin, of course, you're describing something that happened a while ago that happened in the past. Of course, times change. And I also want to include as well what happens when the home is unstable. Because, yes, we need to have these morals and standards, in the children when they're home so that they can be able to, sort of act that out when they go in public. But if they don't have that proper guidance at home, or if the home is broken, then how do we expect them to fully function in a social environment?
So true. And it will end up to be a cycle. Because what the child learns at home is what he or she will practice as he gets older. So the school is a microcosm of the community. So what takes place in the community more than likely takes place in the school. The school, we have the children's attention from primary school 8:30 to 3, 8 to 2:30. So the persons in there, so not only the educators, support staff, student support services division, can do what they can. But when the child goes back home, all the habits that we try to inculcate in the school is basically erased because they go back and they spend that time there, right? Now, guarantee that, other stakeholders need to get involved. And we look at other activities as well. So in the community, we used to have these sporting and cultural clubs.
Right.
We're not seeing it as much. There are still some, and those who are doing it, they are doing it effectively to a point as well too. I can point out in La Hawketta, I had a conversation with one of my comrades who's teaching, Ms. Rhonda Jones, and they are trying so much within that community. And we like to stigmatize communities based on what activities took place and so. But they are trying at their grassroots level. They have sports, they have cultural activities, and so they are trying. The TTPS, I spoke to Inspector Miller. We went to Tobago last week, and he reached out to me to let me know that they are also trying. He is in charge of the Child Protection Unit. We always think of these units to go in and to intervene when trouble has brewed. So, they come in there to intervene. But they are intervening at a different level in terms of prevention. So these are some of the groups that need to, step up and so. So that's in Tobago.
Yeah, I also believe they have the police youth clubs as well in certain communities, yeah. But let's go back to the school, because I think it was Baratara you mentioned where the parent was able to breach, and go into the school. And so in terms of security, is that a concern for TTUTA? Because I know we started to see a lot of these incidents, I believe it was early last year with the reopening of school, right, if I'm not mistaken. And so what the ministry did because of that, remember they had their patrols and the community policing. Does TTUTA believe that is enough to ensure security, or does the patrol need to work with the security in the school? I mean, how do we ensure that our students are kept safe from this?
Okay, so you brought up the issue of security, and that is a concern because we would have seen on a number of occasions the complement of security officers are not adequate. So take, for example, even if it's a small school, you have one security officer. That security officer is also supposed to do patrols, right? The perimeter fencing and so, and within the school. When he or she leaves that post, what happens at the front? So one security officer to us is not sufficient. In the secondary school, there are supposed to be complements depending on the size of the school, as well as the number of students. We find almost on a daily basis, if one officer from another school is absent, they take from that complement to to supplement the officer that is absent. So what happens to that school as well too? So it is a matter of the number of security personnel, and we appreciate in this economic times, that there is a challenge in terms of economics. However, we are saying an investment in education and all aspects of education, not only the curriculum, but all aspects of education, security, the hidden curriculum is an investment in the future of Trinidad and Tobago.
Mr. Lum Kin, I have a question. Do you think, or are we seeing that the violence, it's only taking place at certain schools? Is it that it's more in community schools than certain schools? And then why do you think we're seeing that trend? Again, is it that social media is highlighting violence in particular schools and maybe, it's not highlighting the others? Or what do you think is causing that trend? Are we seeing something wrong, or is that in fact something that's happening?
It is a matter of a number of reasons, right? So there is an upsurge in a number of schools, and TTUTA have been over the years highlighting this to the Ministry of Education and requesting that deep intervention needs to be. I can point out Tranquility Government Secondary. Over the years, many years, have been having issues of violence and indiscipline inside, outside of the compound. And we have been asking for deep intervention in terms of not only the TTPS, not only security, but programs. If you look at the level of frustration or anger that some of these children are displaying, especially coming out of a pandemic where they were locked up for 2 years, you understand that the children needs to channel their energies and to also learn mediation, peer counseling, as well as have some intervention in terms of emotional intelligence. We are focusing on only the curriculum, book, and so on, the IQ, and the intelligence quotient, but what about the emotional intelligence factor as well too? And so, yes, security is an issue, you would have said, and patrols, the TTPS can do so much, right? But that is just, to me, a plaster on a sore. There has to be other interventions, deep interventions. Let us have let us have the serious conversation. Let us put aside party politics. Let us do this for the nation. If we believe in our nation and want our nation to grow, the children are the future of our nation, and we need to intervene. Because why are children attracted to gangs as well too? They need a sense of belonging, and they are getting that with the gangs. If they are not getting it in the home, if the schools are not also providing it in some instances, then they're going to find it other places as well.
I know that we have to wrap up soon, and we were making the joke off air, right? We can sit down here and talk all day. I have two quick questions.
Sure.
Is TTUTA concerned for the safety of their teachers while this violence is taking place?
Yes, we are, because in some instances, in most instances, our teachers intervene without thinking. They see a fight, they go in. They themselves can be damaged. They can get injured. Also, there is this issue. If a male teacher intervenes with female fighting, and a female accuses him of touching her inappropriately, then that leads to another issue. So when teachers are intervening, they have to calculate the risks involved. We are not saying don't intervene, but you have to be mindful of some of the risks that are involved. And really and truly, that should not be the work of the teachers. We should be there teaching and learning, So, but as I said, most times teachers intervene. They cannot just stand up and watch children fight and not try and do something.
And quickly, Mr. Lum Kin, my final question for you. I remember speaking to a parent, I believe it was in a school in Central, and she was very, very concerned that gangs were coming in the school. Does TTUTA believe that there is gang activity at certain schools, especially at a secondary school level?
Yes, we have been getting feedback that there are not only gang-related activities, but there's also drug blocks. There are drug blocks, within schools.
Has TTUTA investigated this, or how do you get the information? Is it just like a he said, she said sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's based on the reports we would get from our staff reps or our staff as well too.
Right.
And we would make reports. However, you have to get proof. And these students now are so innovative in the way they do it. In one instance, the back wall, it was being sent over the back wall. So they did not have it in them when they were searched going in. So there are other breaches in security that would allow for it. And we are saying that all of these needs to be investigated, and there are certain schools that we can flag.
Mr. Lum Kin, let me thank you so much for coming in and sharing the very important points that you raised. I'm hoping that we can hopefully get a rep from the Ministry of Education just to also address some of the concerns that you raised, because I think it's really informative for everybody who's watching. So thank you once again.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
And that was the president of TTUTA, Mr. Martin Lum Kin, just sharing some issues and concerns that the body has about the school violence, particularly parents' involvement in school violence at schools. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.